Good morning. Now, today is the 17th of April 2023, if you're watching this, and there is going to be a debate in the UK Parliament today on the World Health Organization's new, what is called a Pandemic Preparedness Treaty. They actually call it themselves a Pandemic Accord. Rather than a treaty. And along with the Pandemic Accord, which they want to create between its 194 member states, there are going to be over 300 changes to the International Health Regulations 2005, which are going to be discussed and agreed on over the course of the next year and a few months, ready for the 77th World Health Assembly, which is held annually in May. And the 77th one is not this year, but it's going to be in May 2024. So they tried in the World Health Organization to sneak in some changes to the international health regulations in the last World Health Assembly in May 2022, but they didn't get it through because a lot of the nations in the global south, led by African nations, rejected the changes that they wanted to make. So they've gone immediately back and tried to get these changes in another way and get all of the nations to agree with a longer process. And also there's going to be a lot more money going to African and global South nations. So they're going to be attempted to be bribed off and support this because it talks about health equity. Whenever people talk about equity, that's a key word for giving money to nations, developing nations, poorer nations, so that they will vote for your globalist programs. Now, if I were them, I still wouldn't have anything to do with it because it isn't going to be good for you in the long run. Because what this move is trying to do with a new pandemic accord and huge changes to the international health regulations is to give the World Health Organization power over the health policies of all of the member states which are in it, which is most of the states and countries and nations in the world. So if they decide to declare a health emergency on the basis of a pandemic or something else, then they will take control of your government's health policy and the response and the preparedness to a so-called a pandemic that might happen in the future. And they're pushing the narrative. They're all of the people around the World Health Organization and connected with the COVID era, the lockdown era that we've had in the last 3 years, are pushing the idea there will be another pandemic sometime. So they're obviously they're leading up to this. They're planning. Something is planned, something is afoot. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to work that out. Why on earth would some, before now, a body that was seemingly rather innocuous, now obviously we know it's not, why would they be trying to have a massive international power grab to take sovereignty over all the nations in the world in one particular area of policy, which is health policy? So that's what's going on, and I think a lot of you who watch this channel will know that. So this brings us back to today. There's going to be a debate in Parliament on this, and this is as a response to a public petition. So there was a petition to say, and the petition, I'm just going to bring up the words, it's according to the publication from the House of Commons when this was, the debate was announced, there were 156,000 signatures. Now in the UK we have a system where anyone can start a petition to the government, and if it gets over 10,000 signatures, the government has to release a response, a written response. If there's over 100,000 signatures, there has to be a debate in Parliament on it. However, Very often these debates in Parliament are very, very poorly attended, which just shows the contempt that a lot of MPs, particularly MPs who are in the government, have for the general public. So the petition itself, I'll read it, it said, "We want the government to commit to not signing any international treaty on pandemic prevention and preparedness established by the World Health Organization unless this is approved through a public referendum," which I think is eminently fair, sensible, and democratic. And we would go further in the Heritage Party and say that the United Kingdom should leave the World Health Organization now because it has just got too big for its boots. It is trying to dictate and override and overrule national sovereignty and the policies of democratically elected governments as and when it chooses. So it is not an organisation that is just stuck to its original mandate as we thought when we joined it many, many years ago, before I was even born and most people were even born. I think we joined these international organisations back in the 1950s, but now they have changed and grown into beasts which are trying to undermine sovereignty. So it's time to leave these globalist organisations that have got too big for their boots, like the WHO and many other things that I could think of as well. Paris Climate Agreement is one. The European Convention on Human Rights, again, that was good when it started, but it's got too big for its boots and is now overriding government policy and national sovereignty in many areas. But that's a whole other video and a whole other story. So when it got to 10,000 votes, 10,000 signatures on the petition, the government did release a statement which, to be honest, is just completely patronising and dismissive. It's one of these off-pat responses that doesn't address people's concerns and just says, we're going to do what we want because we think we know best. Yeah, it's absolutely deplorable. The response says this from the government, which was on the 27th of May, 2022, "To protect lives, the economy and future generations from future pandemics, the UK government supports a new legally binding instrument to strengthen pandemic prevention, preparedness and response." So this is the fake Conservatives who are in power in the UK and have been since 2010. The Labour Party, who was in power before them, wouldn't be any different. We know that during the lockdown era, they wanted to lock down faster and harder even than the fake Conservatives, who locked down fast and hard and ruined much of the economy and much of children's education and tens of thousands of businesses and the mental health of millions of people, and caused by rolling out these injections untold suffering. That's what the fake Conservatives are. Labour would have been worse. Lib Dems and Greens would have been just along for the ride as well. So none of these four old parties would say any different to any of the others on this. They would all, if any of them were in any, apart from the fake Conservatives, were in government, they would have said exactly the same thing. They will support a new legally binding instrument. So they are supporting giving away more of our national sovereignty to a globalist body. It says it right there explicitly. That's what they would do. So they've looked at the concerns of 156,000 people, probably more by now, who have taken the time to say that they are concerned about this, what's going on in the World Health Organization. And the government has just basically stuck two fingers up to all of those people and said, no, we're going to give away our sovereignty to them because it's the right thing to do, according to them. Well, we need to get rid of these people. And obviously, as you know, I'm the leader of the Heritage Party. We're the only party in the United Kingdom that is against any new World Health Organization Pandemic Preparedness Treaty or Pandemic Accord or strengthening the international health regulations. Now, actually, our policy is to leave the World Health Organization entirely. We need to get out of it. The Heritage Party is the only party that will do that, and it's specifically in our manifesto and our plan for government. So if you want to get out of this, you're not going to get any joy from any of the parties that are in Parliament at the moment. I think since the last general election in 2019, which was all about Brexit, I understand people voted for Boris then because he used a 3-word mantra: get Brexit done. And people voted for him on the basis of those 3 words. He didn't get it done properly. It was half done. It was a bodged job. But all of the stuff that's come in since then, we now realise that they are all just acting not to bring sovereignty back, which is what Brexit was supposed to do, but to give more of our sovereignty away. They haven't taken it fully back and properly back from the European Union. We're still now in dynamic alignment with their regulations and their rulings. And now they want to give more sovereignty away to the World Health Organization. So this is what the fake conservatives are like, and all the other parties. So we need to vote them out and come and join us, vote for the Heritage Party, in order to actually really and truly regain and retain our national sovereignty, which is what other parties promise, but they don't do. And nobody else is speaking about this apart from us. So who will go to the debate? Well, I'm sure Andrew Bridgen, MP, will go to the debate. Now, as I've said before, he didn't say much for the first 2 years of the COVID era, but now he's saying some good things, and he is seemingly saying all the things that are aligned with me, with us, the Heritage Party, and in terms of fighting Agenda 2030 and coerced injections and lockdowns and the World Health Organization Pandemic Treaty and so on. So, that's a good thing. Apart from him, I don't know who's going to be there. I mean, the last time there was a debate, I think it was on the COVID vaccine injuries, you saw it. Andrew Bridgen was there in the Parliament, but everybody else left. Well, apart from 9 people, and hardly anyone was there to start with. Maybe there were 30 people at the beginning, and then this one guy went around telling other people to leave, and just to insult the victims of COVID injection injuries by not being present even to listen to what was being said in Parliament during that debate. So how many people would turn up to this debate on the Pandemic Accord, or Pandemic Preparedness Treaty as it's colloquially called? I don't know. I doubt there will be many people there. The government have made their position clear, so it's very unlikely that anybody who's actually in the government, the sort of 90 or so MPs who have got paid positions to be, Secretary of State for Health and Education and Undersecretary of this and Minister for Schools and Minister for Police and all these kind of people who've got paid roles in the government, I doubt any of them are going to be there at all, because they've made their position clear, and shame on them. So that's what's happening today, but, I don't expect a lot of joy to come out of this debate, but it will give these concerns time to be aired and put on the Hansard as a record of what is going on. But the date, as I said, for these things to be voted on at the World Health Assembly of the World Health Organization is next May. So it's about a year away. I don't think there's going to be a general election before then, to be honest. I think that the general election in the UK will be put off until the last minute. I think it will be in October or November 2024. That's what's most likely. That's what I think, because the fake conservatives know they're going to get a beating, and they're going to just put things off to the very last point, stay in power until the very last minute they possibly can. They might even go all the way to December, who knows. This would be terrible to have some, election just before Christmas. I mean, can you imagine that? But anyway, we will continue to fight this in the Heritage Party, and we will continue to get stronger. And we have got many more candidates, obviously, standing in the local elections this year than last year. 65 candidates if you include Alberta standing for mayor of Bedford, and our 64 standing in district and borough elections, which is tremendous. So thank you to everyone who's standing for us as a candidate this year, and everyone who's supporting our candidates. And we are only going to grow before the next general election to give a real challenge. And we need to win. We need to get in, because, this government will take us in. There's no question, unless they fall within the next 12 months. That's what they're going to do. They've said it. They don't care what people think. But we need to be strong enough to get rid of them at the next general election. So, okay, they might take us into this pandemic accord for 6 months, but then we'll come straight back out of it at the very beginning, if we can get into power in Westminster. Now, we've got a mountain to climb, we've got a marathon to run in order to do that. It's a long, long job, but we need to accelerate the situation. This is where I need you to come and help me. Please come and join me in the Heritage Party. Everyone who joins, whether you're active or not, helps, because you pay a small membership fee. That all helps to keep the party running and to support our candidates. And now this year, we've printed literally over 200,000 leaflets for candidates around the country, candidate leaflets and general leaflets, raise our profile and to try to get our candidates elected in local government. Now, we need to do that many, many times over in the next general election. So every one of you who joins helps, but also if you think you've got what it takes to stick your head above the parapet and become a candidate and fight this globalism, we got to do it. Please come and join me, and also apply to be a candidate. And obviously we have to do vetting and assessing, but then we will get as many people of you as we can in to stand at the next general election. So, when I first did it, I'd never done it. I'd never done it before. The first time I stood for election was 2015. And, the first time it was quite daunting, but I did it. If I can do it, anybody can do it, I think. So, so now here we are, a decade later, nearly, the first time I stood to be an MP, and I'm like leading a party, asking other people to join me. Please do consider it. It's not as crazy an idea as you think. And if we want to stop this national sovereignty being eroded, then we have to act. You got to get involved. So please do consider getting involved and joining me, and we can stop this WHO takeover of our national health policy one way or the other. Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. God bless you all.